Well, here we are. It's middle of October, and we're entering into the third or fourth week of a government shutdown. And it pains my heart because there's so many people affected by this that are not getting a paycheck, that are going to a food pantry for the first time. There's a lot of people freaking out about their food stamps for next week. And it's just not a good situation for most people. If you're not currently affected by the government shutdown, I hope that that continues and you won't be affected. But this week we're going to do things a little bit differently. I have specifically made a super like mega cheap meal plan that will feed a family of 4, 6 dinners, and it's way under our $60 budget. So let's get into the details. Now, if you are one of the government workers that has been furloughed, or you're working without pay, or, if you're just really struggling with food insecurity right now, please go to the website for Feeding America. It's feedingamerica.org. You can search for different food pantries and food giveaways that are available in your area. If you're in an area that has United Way 211, you can call them and they can help you. A lot of churches are doing extra food giveaways right now. So please, if you need help, please go do that. Now, if you are not currently experiencing food insecurity, and I hope that you're not, please consider donating. And I'm talking about donating money, donating canned goods, donating your time, whatever you can do to help those that are struggling. Because whether we like it or not, food banks right now are seriously hurting for everything. Now, this week, the meal plan that I have made uses lots and lots of common food pantry items. Now, you will notice that there is a lot of canned beans in this week's menu, and that is intentional. Right now, a lot of the food banks are not getting a ton of fresh food or fresh meat, but they are getting a lot of canned beans. So this may cause your family to go on a bean strike like mine has in the past, but it will keep you fed. And if this is a little too much beans for you, I apologize. I have tons and tons of other menus on my website that are all low cost. They're usually under $60. But I wanted to put this out there because I know that some people are really struggling and they need some help. So let's look at the menu for the week. Here is our menu this week. You'll notice there's a really good variety if you take into account they all have beans in them. Now, I am going to show you some fun ways to use beans because beans are a really common food pantry item, and a lot of people don't know how to use them, or they kind of, just lose the creativity, or they just run out of ideas. So even if you only take 1 or 2 of these recipes away, I hope that they serve you well. Now, when I said extreme budget, I wasn't kidding. I was able to get everything on our list for $46. Now, you'll notice there's quite a bit of pantry items, and I would recommend that you check your fridge, your freezer, your pantry, everything first before going shopping, and check off as many of these boxes as you can based on what you already have. Now, our total this week did come from, and I don't even know if I can pronounce this right, Chillicothe, Ohio. Now, down below, there are 2 links. One goes to my website where you can download a free PDF of all the recipes, the shopping list, everything. The second one goes to my Walmart grocery list. So you can go there and check what items you need and what the cost would be in your area. Just keep in mind that there's 2 items on this list that are considered regional, and that is the yellow rice and the baked beans. So you may see a really funny price. You would just have to go to Walmart and change it up to what the local brand is, because for some reason those 2 items are not available at every store. Our first item this week is going to be some Fiesta nachos. We are going to do this sheet pan style, and it is super simple. Now, we are going to do this without meat, but if you did have some meat, you could totally include this. Now, we're going to do a mixture of black beans, corns, and tomato, and that's kind of give us our Fiesta feel because it'll be nice and colorful. Now, I have taco seasoning on here, but you could also use just some chili powder because we are going to have that this week as well. That could save you a little bit extra. Now, you could also add some lettuce and tomato, and we do have that for another meal. And if you had a little extra money, you could get some sour cream, some salsa, maybe some diced avocado. There's lots of options here, and this is easy to adjust to your family. Now, our second is going to be a ham and bean soup. We're going to use some canned northern beans, but you could really use any white beans you like. Now, I opted for canned because those are what you would normally get in a food pantry, but you could also make this with dried beans. I typically rinse them and soak them overnight and then cook them, and then they would actually need some longer heat time. So this is kind of the quickie version of this. Now we are going to use some onions, some carrots, and some celery. The baby carrots were actually on sale, so it was cheaper to do baby carrots than it was like a pound of regular carrots. You can play that by ear. We are going to use some hamburger buns for another meal, but we're not going to use all 8 of them. So we could easily serve this soup with some butter bread or some garlic bread. That's a nice way to use up all the items that we're going to buy this week in multiple meals, so that way we don't have food waste. Now, this next meal is a little different because we're going to do a chickpea and chicken burger where we're going to mix drained chickpeas and then drained, rinsed canned chicken to make a burger. And you can use whatever seasonings you like. You could make this more Greek style with some Greek seasoning. You could add some taco seasoning, whatever your favorite seasonings are. This is just really basic. Now, here's what's fun is you can also, if you don't care for chickpeas, you could switch this up with some black beans. Really, any beans will do. You could even do like white kidney beans. They're called cannellini beans, which I can rarely ever say. There's so many options here. And then we're going to do this with some sweet potato fries in the air fryer. These are super simple, and sweet potatoes have kind of been on sale because we're coming up to the holiday season. And then for the veggie, we're going to have some baby carrots left over, so we could easily do that as well. You could do them raw and then with some, like ranch dressing, or you could just saute them in a pan, whichever you prefer. Honestly, I've also tried recently where you take the baby carrots and you do like some ranch seasoning and some oil, and then you roast those in the air fryer. That's a great option as well. Our next dinner is going to be a chili mac with ground turkey. Now, this is just a super simple version. Now, I like to do it all on the stove top. So once we cook our macaroni and our ground turkey, and then we add in all of our typical chili items, I like to fold in the shredded cheese afterwards and kind of mix it around so it gives it more of a mac and cheese feel. But if you wanted to, you could just sprinkle the cheese on top and put the lid on top so it has that nice melty layer. I know some people like to bake it in the oven and get that melty layer there, but to me that's just an extra step. So you can really adjust this however you like. Our next meal is going to be a Cowboy casserole, which is really a tater tot casserole that has some cowboy elements. This is kind of a kid-friendly version. Think of like, your beans and weenies, and we're going to do it over crispy tater tots. Now, I like to put the tater tots down first and bake them so they get nice and crispy, but I know some people like to put the beans and the weenies at the bottom and then top it with tater tots. So either which way will work, and then we're just going to do some green beans on the side here. For our last dish, we're going to do some bean and cheese burritos, but to me, sometimes when it's just beans and cheese, it kind of falls flat. It doesn't feel as filling. Since we only used half a bag of tater tots on the previous dish, we're going to use the other half in this dish. And this just kind of adds more bulk to the burritos. So we're going to take the other half a bag of tater tots. We're going to toss them in the air fryer, get them all nice and crispy. And then all we need to do is take our warmed up refried beans, just kind of smear that in the middle of your tortilla, top it with some tater tots and some cheese. And then I like to just roll them kind of egg roll style. And then I pop them back in the air fryer for a couple minutes, just so they're nicely browned and got a little bit of a crunch. And then we'll serve this with a side of yellow rice and then some shredded lettuce and tomato. This is one of those, if you had avocado or guacamole or just ranch dressing would totally work as well. Kind of reminds me of the lettuce and tomato that you would get at a Mexican restaurant. Now, you may be wondering why I did a video this week. And really, this government shutdown has kind of hit personal to me. I know lots of people that work for nonprofit and government agencies that just all of a sudden got, notice that they're being furloughed. They didn't really have a plan in place for a situation like this. And basically, they're living paycheck to paycheck. And one of them had mentioned that she was going to have to go to the food pantry for the first time in a gazillion years. And she was really nervous about it. So I told her, go get your box or, whatever kind of bags that you can get, and then give me a call and we will figure out a meal plan. And I realized that this is something that is affecting thousands of people all over the US, whether you're, you know, in the military, whether you work in one of the state parks, if you work for a nonprofit that's federally funded. There's just so many people that this has affected. So I wanted to put this menu out here on YouTube, and hopefully the people that need it will see it. I can't guarantee that I'm back for my weekly, videos, but I wanted to make sure that this one got out there. And if you're new here, there's a gazillion, okay, maybe that's a slight over exaggeration, but there's hundreds of meal plans on my website. Please come join us on Facebook. I'm always putting out lots of different meal ideas and lots of ways to feed your family on a super low budget. So I hope you all have a fabulous week, and I'll be praying for everybody that's affected by this, and hopefully it ends soon. So see you later. Bye.